Good afternoon, friends.
Hey, George.
Everyone, Mike and Andy are in another meeting at the moment, and it was supposed to wrap up at maybe just a few minutes late. If it doesn't get going here, or they're not here in a couple minutes, I think we just start. But let's give them like 2 or 3 and just see where they're at.
Good morning, Chip.
Good morning.
Yeah, I almost called you about 8 a.m. the other day and then thought better of it.
8 a.m. your time. I appreciate that. I could have been up though.
I made that mistake the other day. I called Greg at the cidery and he's definitely not in America right now. I felt so bad.
That's why you have intelligent things on your phone that says you don't accept calls between these hours and these hours. It really helps that.
Everyone, there are going to be a few more minutes. Would you all be comfortable with starting the meeting and then they can jump in when they're ready? Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you all had a great weekend. Dr. Ryan, do you want to kick us off when you're ready?
Sorry, were you talking to me?
Yeah, I just thought you were on the phone after I said your name, but Andy and the mayor are kind of wrapping up another meeting and they're just running a little late. And I just thought for brevity, we could just start the meeting and then they can jump in as soon as they get here. So I was wondering if you'd be willing to share with us your weekly update.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show you guys something.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
The mayor will be here in just a moment. We just got off the other meeting, so I'm sorry to keep everybody waiting.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I wish I had great news for you, but I don't, and I really never have since we started this whole relationship. Right now, as you can see on this chart that I'm showing you, basically in a nutshell, in the last 30 days, Colorado has doubled its case count per day as a 7-day average, going from roughly 700-800 to now what is 1,600-1,700 per day. So we're definitely headed in the wrong direction. And as you see there on the chart, as I stated a week ago, we are now at the beginning of what will be surge number 4, which is very unfortunate. Here in our county, we've had 11 cases over the last 7 days. Again, way too high. We're now at 184 per 100,000. Again, way too high. As far as vaccination efforts, we are trying our darndest. To date, we have 19% of our population who live in Clear Creek County are fully vaccinated, and 27.2% are at least one dose in them and awaiting the second dose. So just a little over 1/4% of our population is actually vaccinated or on the road to vaccines. We are learning in spades why that is so difficult. We literally were just all over Idaho Springs this morning, going business to business, asking who wants a vaccine and come out to the parking lot. People do want it, but apparently pre-registering and showing up somewhere is a huge ask. So only if we're in the parking lot are they actually willing to come out and get vaccinated. I don't know. We're working on our messaging and reaching out in any and every way we can to get people in. We are having additional clinics tomorrow. We are having one here at the Resource Center from 10 to 2. It's walk up. You don't need an appointment, just show up. And then our usual on Wednesday, where we will be vaccinating north of 600-700 people, whatever we have left in terms of the Johnson & Johnson. So we were told 700 to 800 employees wanted to get vaccinated, and I don't know that we've even exceeded 300 to date. So a little disappointing on that front, but we're continuing to work, obviously tirelessly, to get as many folks as we can get vaccinated, because 27% of the total population isn't going to work.
Dr.
Yes.
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I had a reaction to my vaccine.
Okay.
Do I need to report that to the county or anything like that for your reporting measures, or is it, I mean, it's kind of water under the bridge at this point, but I didn't know if that was important for your records.
Yeah, we're absolutely interested in, and we don't have to go into details of what your reaction was, but yes, we are certainly collecting all of that information, and we pass that on to CDPHE, who subsequently passes it on to the CDC. Part of the challenge, just in anecdotally talking to people, unfortunately, what happened at Dick's Sporting Goods last week has created a significant amount of misinformation and individuals scared of the vaccine. So in reality, what happened is when you vaccinate 2,000 people, there's guaranteed to be some in the crowd who are dehydrated. And when that happens, or they're terrified of needles no matter what's in it. And when that happens, you're going to have individuals who are dizzy and or faint. It is not an adverse reaction to the vaccine itself. It's an adverse reaction. And we had 3 cases of this in Dumont at one of our clinics. It turned out those 3 individuals partied hard the night before and were dehydrated, and then drank 3 cups of coffee, and then showed up at 7,000 feet to get a vaccine, and then felt dizzy, and one of them lost consciousness but was fine, didn't require any medical attention whatsoever. In our book, that is not an adverse reaction. It's them being dehydrated. It has nothing to do with the actual vaccine. Unfortunately, when the news plays this sorts of information, they themselves have incredibly limited information. And those 11 folks last week who had those events, none of which required any medical attention, and none of which were taken to the hospital, and none of which were associated directly with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. However, what people hear is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is problematic. I don't want it. And so we're dealing now in the realm of misinformation to the nth degree, where people are far more trusting of some random dude on YouTube who says all the conspiracy theory crap in the world, and they believe that individual, even though they don't know him and he's not qualified to say anything, but they don't believe public health, and they don't believe those who have dedicated their entire career to addressing things like this. They instead believe random Joe Smith on YouTube, who's the foremost expert on conspiracy theories. So that's now in the realm of what we're dealing with. I think we've vaccinated sort of the low-hanging fruit, those who were actively seeking vaccines out. And now that next 60% of the population is going to be incredibly challenging to get in and get vaccinated. So any help that we could get from the business community would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, Dr.
Really?
Ryan.
Yes.
This is Lindsay with Clear Creek EDC. I did have a suggestion on working with businesses to get the vaccine out there. So our employees at Two Brothers Deli had scheduled to get vaccinated on Friday. However, we almost had to close on Saturday because several of our employees that had been vaccinated, I wouldn't say had reactions. They just got, the typical symptoms that come with it, with the fever and the chills and the aches and the tiredness. And so I'm just thinking maybe if the county scheduled vaccines to happen on maybe a Monday or a Tuesday, might be easier for people and for businesses that need to close down. Because I know it was an issue with some other businesses as well that had been vaccinated on Saturday. And then I noticed one of them was closed on Sunday. And right now, given the season we're about to hit, weekends are not a great time to lose business. So we definitely want to make sure everyone can stay open.
Yeah, so we've been roaming Idaho Springs today with very, very limited success, I might say. And then we will be here tomorrow, 10 to 1 at the Resource Center, 1531 Colorado Boulevard. So we've been vaccinating Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every day of the week. And my staff need a break too. So I appreciate that. And we'll try to work with you guys as best we can. But the reality is when we have vaccines, we have to give them out. We do not have the luxury of waiting and dictating to the state. So the 1,000 we got a call last Friday asking how specifically are we going to disseminate those 1,000 doses in the next 5 days? And if we don't have a plan and cannot get rid of them, we have to give them back to CDPHE. That's the reality that we live under. So we're trying to create as much flexibility in terms of several days of the week, several locations in Idaho Springs and Georgetown, and trying to work with everyone as best we can. But some of our responses have been, we have to make 12 calls and 6 emails just to get 4 people to show up. It's incredibly time consuming, and it's not a terribly efficient way to get a hold of folks.
And Dr. Ryan, this is just a walk-up clinic that people can walk up. And is it the Moderna or the J&J?
It's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine we will have tomorrow. We will have some on Moderna on Wednesday. Most of those are going to be second doses. We have roughly 300 people we're giving a second dose of the Moderna Wednesday. But tomorrow will be all J&J.
And does it require the same 15 minutes to hang around to see?
They all do. Yep.
Okay. Do you think you're going to need some of that parking over there for cars?
We're blocking off our parking spots right behind us. And that's where we're operating out of. As far as the other lot next door, some people are parking there, but most folks seem to be walk up that we experienced on Friday anyway. We did have some people park there and they were starting to get tickets, and they should have paid, in hindsight, they should have paid their 15-minute parking fee. But anyway, it's water under the bridge.
Okay, well, let us know if there's anything we need to do to help you out.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Any other questions? So the variants are what are now doubling our numbers in this state, similar to what they have done in Michigan and Minnesota and Florida and New York and New Jersey. Far more transmissible, far more severe outcomes for folks, even those who are healthy and in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. The variant is not like its original. It is far more problematic in every way you can imagine.
Tim, can you describe what we have on the agenda tomorrow for the policy decisions that we have in front of us, just so these folks know what we'll be talking about?
I should thank, so the end of this week, the governor, CDPHE, is likely to remove the required dial, basically following the dial. It's going to be switched to guidance, at which basically what's happening is CDPHE and the governor are shifting responsibility to the counties. and sort of fending for themselves in whatever comes of it. Unfortunate reality, but our reality nonetheless. In addition, the governor has indicated on numerous occasions, both publicly and behind the scenes, he is wanting to get rid of the mask mandate after his extension that he just did a couple weeks ago. So it actually would sunset, I guess is the right word, set the 2nd or 3rd of May. I don't know for sure the exact date, but to get rid of the state mandate, and then again, putting that burden onto the counties, asking them if they want to have a mask mandate. Each county can determine that for themselves. A number of counties have gotten together, particularly all of our neighbors, Summit, Eagle, Grand, Park, Routt County, Jefferson County, et cetera, all of which are very interested in maintaining a mask mandate, particularly given the numbers I just shared with you. We're headed in the wrong direction in a very quick way. So tomorrow on the Board of County Commissioners meeting, we'll be discussing both of those, both our own county level mask mandate and reinstating that, and then what we might do moving forward in terms of the dial and how we might approach that side of things. So both of those will be discussed at length tomorrow on the County Commissioners call.
So Dr. Ryan, the COVID meter goes away. All we're really talking about now is the mask order. So no meter, restaurants don't have any guidance on distancing.
No.
Guidance on wiping. Now we can put our condiments back on the table. We don't have to wipe our menus down anymore.
No, you can't do any of that, Mayor. You can't do any of that. So CDPHE in the state, shifting it to the counties is basically absolving them of any sort of responsibility.
Okay.
It would be a huge mistake. In my professional opinion, it would be a huge mistake to go that route. It's going to be my recommendation tomorrow that we maintain what we've been doing. We should not, nor will we get rid of the mask, nor will we get rid of what is the dial. It's just CDPHE has said it's no longer required. Counties can continue to follow it if they so choose, but it is not a requirement from the state's perspective. I think it would be as big a mistake as we could make as a county to absolve of any of those sort of guidance and pretend like the pandemic is over. If I need to show you the chart again, I'm happy to do that. But moving towards more openness, et cetera, at this time is a humongous mistake. 27% of our population, including our workforce, is vaccinated. We're nowhere near where we need to be on vaccines, and our numbers have doubled in the last month.
So are we suggesting that the county would basically take the meter and kind of keep us under those blue, green, yellow?
That's my thinking. And
they would adopt that meter, and that's what they would kind of base us on. That they would be in control.
Yes. So basically, it would put the Department of Health in conjunction with obviously the Board of Health in determining that. We think that it is, we meaning the Department of Health. I'm not going to speak certainly for the county commissioners, but I think it would be best, one, because businesses already know it and know what to expect from each of the dial settings. Trying to reinvent the wheel at this point makes absolutely no sense. And trying to change, the guidance is the same. CDPHE handing it off to the counties, in my opinion, doesn't really change much in terms of what we should be doing as a county, right? My guidance has been the same since last July. We need to follow the guidance, follow the suggestions on how we keep our community safe. I think we've done a great job at it. But as you saw from that chart, the numbers across the entire country are doubling and the numbers in our state are doubling. And it's a matter of time before that comes home to roost here in Clear Creek County.
Dr. Ryan, what should we expect just with the dial? I mean, with the county now kind of overseeing what happens, what are your recommendations? I mean, are we going to a stricter level? Are you still referencing that the dial? I mean, how do you plan on moving forward now that the responsibility kind of falls under the commissioners moving forward?
That's what we're going to discuss tomorrow on the commissioners meeting. Basically, there's things that I would love to do and continue to do. Yes, right now I think following the guidance of the dial as we have makes the most sense. So if there comes a day in the very near future where our numbers continue to increase, do I think we need to go back up to yellow in terms of occupancy and all that sort of things? Absolutely. My opinion of it hasn't really changed from day one. If our numbers indicate we need to be a little more strict, then we need to be a little more strict. And that decision, as you pointed out, is going to now be a county basis, a county-wide decision, not whatever the state dictates to us.
It just seems like this is going to be a mess with every county doing different things, different levels of restrictions and different levels of allowances, and then people coming out of Jefferson County driving through and coming to Idaho Springs and Clear Creek County and vice versa.
Mike, we told the governor that months ago that this was a terrible direction. Here we are. There's nothing I can do about it other than to maintain what we've been doing in the county and try to provide, again, as I stated since July, try to provide that steady state of reality for us in the county as best as we possibly can. I can't control what goes on outside the county. What I have done, though, is reached out to a number of counties around us to make sure that we all have similar messaging. We were on a call just the other day with George and other county commissioners from around the state and public health directors, trying to coordinate to make sure we have, so when someone enters DIA and starts heading west, it's clear messaging through Jefferson County and Clear Creek County and Summit County and Eagle County. For the next 200 miles, you are under a mask mandate sort of wording, and working and trying to figure that stuff out. So it isn't a hodgepodge of sort of things that are confusing as hell. Public health directors and some county commissioners have been working to try to come together with some cohesive message so that it isn't confusing any more than it already is. And we're diligently trying to work on that to try to get that out so that we have a consistent message across at least the 70 corridor where people can see, okay, I get off in Idaho Springs and I need to have a mask on. I get off in Georgetown, I need to have a mask on, et cetera, et cetera. So
I had a question about, someone was just asking me, is getting vaccinated, what's the data on the protection from the variant with the vaccine? And if you've been vaccinated, we've heard the messaging that, still be precautious, wear your mask. And is it still that, you really should only be kind of hanging out with other people that have been vaccinated? I mean, what's the data behind all of that?
Here's reality. The Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines, which are the only three that are administered in this country and in this state, all three of those are effective at protecting you against the current known variants. The UK variant, which is now the most dominant case in the entire country, as predicted 2 months ago. Here we are. All three of those vaccines are very good at protecting you against those. Unlike a prior diagnosis of COVID 3-4 months ago, for instance, those vaccines provide you a much larger umbrella of protection. So they will provide you a higher level of protection than just a former COVID case, 3-4 months ago. As far as the level and the data, the Pfizer and the Moderna are, as stated, 95% effective at keeping you protected from even the variants. The Johnson & Johnson, similarly, it's 85% effective at keeping you out of the hospital or dying, which are our two primary objectives during this entire thing. As far as hanging out with other people, if everyone in your room, let's say there's 5 of you in the room, if all of you are vaccinated in 2 weeks post-vaccination, it's very low probability that you are going to give COVID to each other. You have a level of protection that is, as I stated, 85 or 95%. It is not 100% effective at keeping you from getting COVID. What it's doing is protecting you from severe outcomes from getting COVID, and it's significantly reducing. So if you take someone who has been vaccinated and someone who has not, and they both get COVID, the person who's been vaccinated, their window that they can then be infectious and give it to somebody else is much tinier. It's a 2 to 3 day window as opposed to the 7 to 10 days that you see in an unvaccinated person, right? So if you're interacting with folks who are not vaccinated, obviously a mask is required, not to protect you, but to protect the people you're with who are not vaccinated or whom you may not know are vaccinated. Make sense?
So does the CDC agree with this? Or is this something that Polis is just saying, this is what we're going to do?
Does the CDC agree with what?
With Polis just lifting and everything's okay? And
no, the CDC does not agree with that at all. The CDC, though, doesn't have jurisdiction over what a governor does in their own state, unfortunately. And so this, just to give you some historical context, the worst possible outcome for humanity, never mind Clear Creek and America, I'm talking about the world. The worst possible scenario is that politics plays a role during pandemics, because we have historical examples, and I'm happy to pull them up next time we talk, of where politics was injected into a pandemic and the outcome was absolutely disastrous. So here we are in America, the land of the free. People are entitled to their own opinion, whether it's science-based or fact-based or delusional. They're entitled to those opinions, and governors are allowed to do what they want.
all the governor did was shift the political pressure from him onto the county commissioners. Right?
Tell me about it. Yeah.
He just handed it to the commissioners and said, y'all figure it out and do what you think.
And I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm here to figure out, here's our reality and this is what we're going to do about it. Polis is yesterday's news. Today is, we as Clear Creek County have to do stuff, and this is what I'm recommending we do. And whether the Board of Health, including George there, agrees with that and how we move forward. As I stated, it's going to be my recommendation that we are fundamentally really not changing anything in Clear Creek County. We still need a mask mandate, and we still need to strongly follow the guidance that has been provided for months on end. We still continue to adhere to that. If our numbers were, instead of doubling, having over those 3-4 weeks, this would obviously be a very different conversation. But here we are. And ironically, the experts have predicted this for weeks and months. And here we are now in reality. So I'm not into the blame game. I'm into the, how do we solve this problem and how do we move forward with what reality we've been dealt.
Dr. A couple of different questions. One question is the P1 variant out of Brazil, is the vaccinations effective against that? The other question that I've got for you is that you've been talking over the weeks that we're not able to get information from people when they're getting vaccinated as far as where they live and so forth. So how is it that you know what the percentage of residents in the county have actually been vaccinated? Is that just what's been done within the county, or does that include what they've picked up in Denver or wherever?
So two questions or two answers, Chip. As far as I know, as far as what I've read thus far on the Brazilian variant, the 3 drug companies that I just mentioned, all of those are constantly looking at the new variants that come out in the laboratory and looking at how effective the vaccine is against it. Now, having said that, what happens in a Petri dish is different than what happens in the human body out in reality, right? So what may prove true in a Petri dish in a laboratory may not always bear out exactly out in reality in human bodies. So those 3 drug companies are very actively looking at new variants that come out and then looking at the testing of those vaccines. What they're also doing, I know that Moderna has been actively changing their ingredients and their formulation to better address the variants, the UK variant, the Brazilian variant, South African variant. There's a California variant. Why? Because cases were so high there that they developed their own variant. This is just reality and what happens.
That's what we have here in Hawaii now, is a California variant.
Right, exactly. The UK variant, most troubling right now because it's in all 50 states and it will run rampant in states, for instance, like Texas. I would love to see Texas. I actually don't. But in 3 weeks, Texas is going to look very different than it does now because they've gotten rid of the mask mandate. And once the UK variant gets into there and is able to literally run rampant because there's no masks, the outcome will be significantly different. To answer your other question, in Colorado and in Clear Creek County, when you get vaccinated, you fill out a one-page form that basically has your name, your address, where you actually live, the county in which you live, and all that information. So whether you get vaccinated in Honolulu, Hawaii, or in Jefferson County, if you are a resident of Clear Creek County and you put that, that information will come back to us. So you would be included in our count. So folks who've been vaccinated outside of our county, but who live here, we get a tally now of those folks. And those are the numbers I was just speaking of. So is 19% of our population who actually live in Clear Creek are fully vaccinated, and 27% are partially vaccinated and on their way.
So another follow-up question on that. Then with that information, will they be able to potentially put together vaccine passports then by having that type of information? Because again, when you get your card, there's not a whole lot that's on there. So I go like, well, if they do the passports, we'd like to really see, you know, how do they actually know that you got it or not?
Yeah, I mean, we have you in the state system. How much of that state information is filtered up to the CDC? I couldn't say with any certainty. As far as passports are concerned, we'll see. This is likely to be a vaccine you're going to need every year for the foreseeable future until they can figure out another way around it, and bring our numbers down to the point where we can now manage 1 or 2 cases a month. Not a problem at all. But when you're you've doubled literally in 4 weeks the number of cases you're seeing in a month. It makes it very challenging for public health to keep a handle on it. It just grows exponentially quite quickly.
Can I ask a question, Dr. Ryan?
Sure.
Can you hear me? I'm wondering if we're going to be able to vaccinate 16 to 18-year-olds in Clear Creek County.
Yes, Linda, that's a great question. I know that the Pfizer vaccine, which is available at the Safeway Pharmacy here in Idaho Springs, Pfizer just applied last week to the FDA to go down to 12-year-olds. So 12 to 16 that's what they've asked for additional permission to now vaccinate 12 to 16-year-olds. So it is my guess, based on what's been going on in timelines typical, we should be able to vaccinate folks down to 12 with the Pfizer vaccine, I would guess in the next 2 months at the latest.
Okay. And I did want to just comment, I mean, it's so frustrating that we don't have the mandate at a state level. And that was very difficult last year with customers that before the state came out and mandated. So I just want to say I really appreciate you working with the neighboring counties to get some messaging out there for us. That's a little above a store level or our own county level or our own town level. I think it helps when it's more widespread and it's messaged.
Yeah, and you know, Linda, that's a great point. And it's the first thing that we, the public health directors, said to CDPHE and the governor's office was, this is going to put an undue burden on the store owners, restaurant owners, and workers to now have to enforce something that is only perceived as a local ordinance, and it's going to be far more effective. So that was our first point to them. You know, if our numbers, I'll be quite honest with you, if our numbers continue on the trend they do, it is quite possible that the governor reverses course and decides to keep the mandate in place. I don't know how he could ignore a further doubling of our numbers. We literally went from 800 cases a day as a 7-day average to now over 1,700 a day as a 7-day average, just literally in 3.5 weeks. If that continues on that trend, which if I had to guess, I probably would assume it would, it's possible he changes course, but we're going to proceed as if he is not. And we're going to put things in place to make sure that we are at least taking care of our county as best as we possibly can.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And just a really quick update. We talked last Monday, we heard loud and clear that this is already a reality again. And so Mike and I got together on the side and talked about the need for VMS boards. They should be arriving in Clear Creek County by Wednesday. By this weekend, hopefully we have VMS boards up at the entrances to Idaho Springs and Georgetown at least, so that at least, if some people just need to be told it's required, right? And we'd prefer that they are told it's required before they're inside of your business and your servers having to deal with that.
And to that point, we're working on additional signage as well that can go throughout the towns. So hoping to increase visibility with where we are with the mask mandate and social distancing.
Does anybody have any magic pills in a way to convince somebody that they should be getting vaccinated? It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, no, Chip, I ate all the pills this morning.
I figured you did.
Myself. No, one thing I find to be the most effective, and clearly it's not effective enough on a broad perspective, but when I have individuals who say, I don't want it, and I sincerely ask them, I'm more interested in understanding why. I'm not judging you whether you want it or not. I really want to understand why, so that we can tailor our messaging and our information and education to address those issues. A lot of it is absolute misinformation on social media. I wish if social media went away tomorrow, that would be the best thing for this country. The amount of YouTube videos of conspiracy theory nonsense of, there's tracking devices in the vaccine. Well, let me tell you this. If we could put tracking devices in the vaccine, we would have cured cancer long ago, right? There are no tracking devices in the vaccines, but guess what this is?
Yep.
This is the #1 tracking device that people actually voluntarily carry, right? We know where you are at every moment, but yet they don't have a problem with that. But they saw a video on YouTube about there's things in the vaccine that are going to track me. In what way? We already know where you are. So it's, trying to overcome those without insulting people and just to give them the facts. In addition, and Randy pointed this out in a conversation we just had the other day, a lot of people are beyond facts, right? Like they know the facts, they just have a fear. They're afraid of a needle, or they're afraid of the unknown, so it's really messaging around how do you address that fear? How do you address their feelings about it? Because they already know the facts. They're not part of the conspiracy theory realm. They just don't want to get it because of some fear or another. So it's really around messaging and addressing that as well. And we're trying to pivot, and we're trying to come up with these things as quick as we can, while simultaneously trying to vaccinate people as quick as we can. So no short task, that's for damn sure.
As someone who's had anaphylaxis from a vaccine, do you recommend avoiding getting the vaccine?
I don't. What I would recommend is talking specifically to the nurse at the time. We have folks, and this is why we have EMS on site every time that we administer the vaccine. Even if you had an anaphylactic reaction, they are literally right there and can treat you right there. You wouldn't even need to go to the hospital. They're able to give you with epinephrine pen and whatever other tools they have to treat you on the spot. And that's why we make people wait 15 minutes or 30 minutes, so that if something like that does happen, it happens in a very controlled environment for which we can react instantly and address it in a meaningful way. To date, and some lady was yelling at me this morning about all these people that have died directly from the vaccine. Absolutely not true. To my knowledge, there hasn't been a single case of a fatality directly related to somebody getting vaccinated. Are there 2,000 people that died after getting vaccinated among the tens of millions of Americans who have been vaccinated? That is a fact. But what is not stated in that fact is those people had heart disease, stroke, COPD, everything else is what killed them. The vaccine itself did not kill them. It's coincidental that they died a day or 2 or 3 after they got a vaccine, but it has no correlation whatsoever with getting the vaccine. But these are the things that the conspiracy theorists prey upon to say, oh, these 2,000 people died after getting vaccinated. Factually, that's true, but it had nothing to do with the vaccine. They just happened to die. Of the tens of millions of people, yes, 2,000 people have died after receiving the vaccine, which statistically speaking is not surprising. People die every day, all day long. So not really a huge surprise, particularly as more people get vaccinated.
And I just want to remind everyone really quickly that the people that are most persuasive to us are our friends and family, right? And so this is one of those cultural moments where it's pretty important to, you know, speak the information that's true and tell your friends, you know, what you think. I'll just leave it there.
Unfortunately, I'm having a household problem because my wife, she feels that there hasn't been enough time to see any long-term troubles with it. And then, of course, we just now started vaccinating the age children that we have with really no data or anything to back it up. So yeah, I agree. It's tough, and you know, there's some battles that I have to stay out of.
But Mike, that's true of any new vaccine, right? It's only tested in tens of thousands of people during the clinical trial. Now it's been tested in hundreds of millions of people around the world. I don't know what more data that you need than that. And obviously they're following the original tens of thousands of people that they vaccinated 9 months ago or whenever it started.
I know. I'm gonna give my wife your phone number.
And nobody has the data. I mean, they're worried about what happened. There's not enough long-term stuff on the vaccine. Well, there's no long-term data on the virus, and we know the virus kills. We know that it mutates. We know that it creates a lot of long-term problems with people. We don't know what all those are, but that evidence itself, it's a risk-based thing. Yes, there's a little bit of a risk taking the vaccine. There's a little bit of risk getting out of bed in the morning. There's a risk if you don't get out of bed in the morning. So we have risks. You got to manage those risks. And the most reasonable thing to do with all of the information out there is just like, how much information do you really need? Again, there's a lot of info out there. Do we know everything? Absolutely not. We never will.
I know that 562,000 Americans are dead from the virus.
Right.
That I know.
But yeah, a lot of those people were really misclassified with stroke attacks and stuff like that. It's more like 10 or 20,000. Dr. Ryan, you really haven't been reading all the info.
I tried, Chip, man. It's a full-time job.
I know it. You're doing a wonderful job.
Well, if there's not any real quick last-minute questions for Dr. Ryan, last chance. We got about 15 minutes, and we want to just talk about a few other things. So, any last questions for Dr. Ryan? All right, thank you, Dr. Ryan, as always on Monday, coming in and sharing this information. I think we're very privileged that we get this information before the commissioners get it on Tuesday. So, so thank you. So,
you're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan.
All right, real quick. We got about 15 minutes. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I missed all of you. And I really mean that, because I really love catching up with what's going on in our community and our business community and our residents of our community. So just to let you know that we are still on track in having the barriers removed on the, what is that date, Andy?
The first week in May. So we're not sure of the exact date, but the first week of May is when CDOT's available.
Right. We were trying to do the second week, but they said they wouldn't be available then. So what we need to do is, Steve, like you, we'll talk to Smoking Yards and a couple of others like the Moose that's been using barriers. If you wanna keep them, they're going to allow us to hang on to some of these. So we will be able to utilize that. Andy checked last week on where we were with our barriers. I'm hoping he's got one done because he's going to start running out of time. It's making me a little concerned. So we'll get by there either today or tomorrow to find out where we are on that. Let's see, real quick, let's just go around the horn to a few people. Steve, how was business this weekend? What did you see?
Well, we did motivate the best we could our staff to get vaccinated on Friday. And like Lindsay said, we did have a high percentage of our employees on Saturday call out because of vaccine reactions. We weren't able to open up to capacity, but we did pretty good. It was a nice day, and we did operate with a skeletal crew, and the people that were here stepped up. Sunday was good, a little slower. The weather was nice. Traffic was good, but things operated smoothly. That's it.
All right, Randy.
I'm just seeing that we're really strong up here, even though I think that there could be more people coming up. As I look at just how the last 4 weeks have been, they're way above where my forecast would have been. And again, to me, it just continues to reinforce the fact that people are, cabin feverish, and with the vaccine coming out, they're anxious to get out and circulate. I don't know what the rest of April is going to look like, but the first, last 4 weeks have been certainly busier than I thought they would be.
All right, thanks, Randy. Sadie?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Randy's statement. What the last 3-4 weeks have really blown out any anticipation. Normally we see a huge drop off by now in April. We're not seeing that. We're still continuing to see large traffic on the weekends, and still pretty heavy traffic during the week time as well. So it's definitely very busy.
All right, thanks, Sadie. TJ, real quick.
Yeah, same. Numbers are great. Just one little tidbit, and I know you weren't on last week's call, Mr. Mayor. And while the discussion is important, I believe, and Dr. Ryan's information is important, I do think we kind of wanted to spend some time this week for how do we get people working up here and job growth and development. And I just think that the clock's ticking a little bit on that. So maybe we can make that a priority or even a different type of meeting. I think that'd be beneficial to everyone on this call.
John, can you put that on our agenda for next week, please? I know, I tell you right now, I'm as nervous as I can be. Here we are 4 weeks away, 6 weeks away from starting summer business. And I've got 5 employees, and 3 of them are my kids. And I've had signs up, banners up, and nothing. It's like, where did these people go? TJ, we know, and we're working so diligently on, housing that our service workers can afford up here.
Yep.
That's part of the problem, is we just don't have the housing for people, and they're not willing to drive up and spend, $5 or $10 worth of gas, and also that drops their hourly pay down by $2 an hour. We're just not doing it. And yeah, it's a huge problem. And yes, I think that we should put that on our agenda. Lindsay also mentioned that to me from last week's meeting. So we were actually going to put it on this one, but we didn't get it on there. So yes, we will do that for sure. Let's see. Tracy, I want to call on you. What are you seeing as traffic through the visitor center? Is it pretty steady that people are coming in there? And what are you seeing at the visitor center?
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, and to everybody on the call. Appreciate the opportunity to give you guys an update. So we have been progressively seeing an increase in traffic. We opened an additional day in April. We've been very cautious based on our skepticism in the situation overall, trying to figure out what the best plan is in terms of staffing. The restaurants, it's old story for you. You're trying to plan your staff, your schedule, your inventory, and everything else around all this. So we opened up on Thursday, and then May we're planning on opening up Monday. So we would open 5 out of 7 days and just staffing accordingly. Our traffic this weekend was excellent. It exceeded everything since we have reopened the business November 15th. So I'm very pleased with the direction things are heading. We never lifted any of our COVID protocol that we created when we reopened the visitor center. Our staff still feels safe. We are all still mask wearing. We have traffic patterns inside. We're controlling volume. I feel good about moving forward safely, but I feel like this, honestly, this is going to be a rip your face off summer. I think that a lot of people have pent up aggression for traveling, and we're going to get pasted here. So having a good plan of action and everybody working together will be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. One thing that I will say, since Sadie mentioned that looks like we still have traffic coming up. Sales tax report for February compared to last year, 2020. This year we collected 243,600. Last year we were at 232,300. Year 19 we were at 207,000. So from 19 to now in February, we're up almost $40,000. So I think that's saying a lot that yes, that does support that people are still coming up, and that, you know, I still feel that some businesses are doing better than others. I just think that's just the nature of the game, and the way that our visitors are, you know, spending money and you know, what, being aware of their budgets and their incomes and how that's working. So that's just, when I saw that, I just pulled it out, and seeing that says a lot for our community and the resiliency of our community and our business community. So let's see. I'm just going to open it up for a roundtable for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I have updated March traffic data we could go over real briefly. See if I'm able to share screens. So yeah, in March, we saw 1.6 million traffic volume, breaking 8% over February, and really seeing it diverge from the trend of 2020 when we saw it drop off. So 40% higher than year over year, and just under 2019. So now we're kind of expecting to track with 2019. We can update this if we're seeing more volume from the pent-up demand, but it seems like we can expect for April to be down about 20% from March, and then kind of regain March volumes in around June.
Okay. Hey,
so
thanks for doing that for us, man. And, you know, taking on that role of bringing that to this group, because I think that kind of has a telling story of what we're doing now and what to expect, like you said, moving into the summer months and things like that.
Yeah, I sure don't, because it's only been good news. Once it starts going down, we'll see if it's
you gotta have the bad. We take the good with the bad, so we know how to react. We know how to adjust. Anybody else? All right. I don't think that I have any additional things. John, Andy?
That was all we had on the agenda.
Andy, anything else that may be missing?
No, I can't think of anything.
Last, I know that I was at the meeting last week at City Council, and Sadie, I heard that you did another wonderful presentation to the council, and it was very well received. So now that we have a plan in place, we just need to figure out how to implement it. So we've got the framework, and we've got some very smart and committed people that has put that together, and this group that we will continue to work to move these things forward and figure out how to do them. So thank you so much. I know you put a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. Just let me know. You know, we're running out of time to be well prepared. So just let me know when you guys want to move forward on putting things in place.
Okay, thank you. All right, John, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, Sadie, you have an email coming from me in about 5 minutes.
All right. Okay, Janine Schreiner, I guess I don't know you. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure, absolutely. I've been on a couple calls. I'm a representative for Frozen Fire. You guys might know us as well, as this is Idaho Springs, so we promote the community.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. Yeah, I guess I know a couple of other people from the Frozen Fire group. So, okay. Thank you for introducing yourself to us.
I've got a question, Mike. It's Carla. Since with Janine on the line, I heard that Frozen Fire is doing some sort of video over like a drone video or something. Did I hear that right from somebody?
So Brandy Davis, one of our owners, is actually on the call as well, and she might be able to speak to that better than myself.
Hi, this is Brandy. We are not doing a drone, but I think, are you talking about the video that Austin and I have been visiting about?
Maybe. I didn't hear
Okay,
it from
yeah.
Asta. I heard it from Nicole Nemmers, but I don't know
Yeah,
how she
we don't
heard it.
have plans of doing a drone video at this moment, but we do have plans for other videos that are going to help promote several things that are going on in the community. And I know Asta was trying to set up a meeting with me, you and her, to meet this week as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. And now that I'm talking, I think it's actually GoCo. Andy, do you know anything about that? Is GoCo doing a meeting or a movie of some sort with the
No.
Greenway?
Not that I'm aware of. Do you know,
Okay,
John?
let me find out where I got that information from, because they announced it in our PTA meeting last week. But I don't know where it came from.
Are you okay? All right. Much more information, no more information on that, Carla. So thank you. All right. Good work, everybody. As always, thanks for your commitment to being on these meetings and listening to what we are doing. And Dr. Ryan and Alyssa, do you have anything for us before we part?
Nope, I don't.
All right. Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good week. And if we have any additional information, we will reach out to you. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks.